had Guillain-Barré, I remember I lost the feelings in my legs. I remember that was one of the first symptoms I had. And all I remember is I was starting to walk with the legs. And it started out, you know. Alright, today's date is March 30th, 2009. And this is Bruno Epperson. And let's see. Okay, this is Bruno Epperson, and I'd like to talk about an experience I had near the fall of 2003 when I contacted Guillain-Barré, and this is around September of 2003. I remember when I first had Guillain-Barré. I remember I lost the feelings in my legs. I remember that was one of the first symptoms I had, and all I remember is I was starting to walk with a limp, and I was losing feeling in my feet and my legs. And it started out, you know, in my legs, and I was really an avid treadmill walker. I used to walk the treadmill a lot and stuff like that, and I was really an exercise freak, and I couldn't walk it hardly without my legs gassing out, and I'd have to get off the treadmill, and after about 3 or 4 minutes and take breaks, and my stamina in my legs was gone, and that was the first symptom I had. All right, March 30th. 2009, and to put it all in, to put it all out. But before I had Guillain-Barré, I was working out regular and everything, and I was really into physical fitness. I was taking my vitamins every day, and I was eating real good and everything. And I just remember, you know, it was just a sudden shock, you know, because I was used to having, you know, as far as the first symptoms I was feeling, the weakness in my legs, that was the first initial, you know, side effect I had, was not being able to have stamina in my legs and walk the treadmill and stuff like that. And then, you know, I was working on the Bowflex, and I remember I was sitting on the Bowflex, and I couldn't even move the bows or anything, and I was working out with about 300 pounds on the Bowflex, and I just remember I couldn't move it. I was stuck like that and stuff like that, and my fingers would just curl up like that, you know. They would just literally curl up, and I didn't understand why, and I couldn't straighten my fingers out and stuff like that. And that was some of the next effects, and I was bedridden, and I was throwing up, you know, left and right, and I don't know if that had anything to do with the Guillain-Barré, but I was, you know, I was going to the toilet just about every minute, and I could barely pee. And these are other side effects I had when I had Guillain-Barré about the time that it was starting to move up my body and stuff like that. And my toes felt terribly hard, you know, uncomfortable, and they were curled up, and I felt a tingling feeling in my feet, and I couldn't raise my arms to touch the fan to turn the light off. And, you know, eventually, you know, I got to the point where I was having to crawl up the stairs, you know, and I saw several doctors, you know, about the problem I was having. And I was taking, at the time I had taken medication, and the doctors thought it was a reaction to being off medication, but it really wasn't it. And then there were some really ignorant doctors, uneducated, that thought I had gallbladder syndrome, you know, or something, and that was totally wrong and everything for them to think that, and they thought it was a side effect for me being off my medication, but it wasn't a side effect, you know. And then finally, I was crawling up, literally crawling up the stairs to get from to the second story to get to my room, and I was feeling terribly weak and terribly nauseated. Couldn't do one push-up, couldn't do the Bowflex. And then I got to the point where I couldn't even use my own neck muscles or anything like that, and I freaked out. I thought I had a stroke and everything like that, and they were telling me I need to see physical therapists, you know, because I was having a shock, you know, from being off my medication. And then finally I went to the hospital, and they did x-rays on me and everything, and it took a male nurse that knew about Guillain-Barré, that had had patients in the hospital that diagnosed me with having Guillain-Barré, and that's when another doctor, when the male nurse said I had GBS, he said, "What does he have, gallbladder syndrome?" And the doctor said, the nurse said, "No, he has Guillain-Barré." So then finally they sent some physical therapists down, and they hooked me up to an electrical monitor, and they did shock therapy on me just to test my reaction, and then finally they hooked me up to a machine, and, you know, they gave me immunoglobulin, you know, and then put the immunoglobulin in my body, And the main thing I want to cover is how fast I recovered. You know, because I was young at the time. I was about 22, 23 when it happened, and literally 28 days, less than 28 days, I was out of the hospital. 28 days from the first day I went into the hospital, and I was walking upstairs, and I was limping, but I was walking upstairs very gradually, and they had physical therapists work me with the really light dumbbells and walking up and down stairs and walking outside around the waterfall and stuff like that. And I remember how dedicated and how resilient I was, and how much my heart was intent on recovering from the Guillain-Barré. And I've heard about other people having post-traumatic stress, and I have to say one thing to those people: that you don't have to have that. That there is that you're looking at one guy that has recovered 100% from Guillain-Barré, and I was working on the Bowflex, and I was jogging a year later after having Guillain-Barré, and I literally at one point, you know, thought I had a stroke, and was at the point where people were doing everything for me and everything when I was in the hospital, and but it didn't hold me down, and it didn't discourage me from recovering. If anything, it motivated me. And when I got out of the hospital, I was working out on the Bowflex and working out on the treadmill, and a year later I was using the free weights and jogging again, and I was back to my normal self. And it took about 5 years, or 3 or 4 years, to where I could jog, you know, without feeling aches and pains in my legs and stuff like that, and without my legs gassing out and getting tired. And you know, now I can jog about 5 or 6 miles without, and my legs, you know, have perfect stamina and everything. And I think one of I thought it was a permanent side effect that my legs would never have 100% stamina again, but you know, I'm just lucky that I can do everything with my legs and arms again, you know, like I used to before I had Guillain-Barré. And this is also a motivational speech to people that know people that have Guillain-Barré, or contact Guillain-Barré themselves, that you can recover from it, you know, if you work hard and work with the physical therapist, and if you use everything that you know that you lost, you know, function of, that you can get it back. And I just remember that what I didn't know about Guillain-Barré was that it was an attack of the insulation of the muscles. Like if the insulation of the wiring on electrical wires is messed up, it won't work. Just like the insulation, my muscles was messed up. This is the scenario they put on me, and it affected my ability to even use my muscles because there wasn't any insulation. And, you know, because it attacked my nervous system, and it attacked the good antibodies in my body where they couldn't fight off the bad antibodies. And I just remember, you know, how much I took for granted how mobile I was before I had Guillain-Barré, and I just remember how much I appreciated, and how much how I exercised that much harder after I had it, and how I appreciated the ability to walk and function physically that much better after I had Guillain-Barré, and it just changed me around and made me appreciate everything and not take it for granted. You know, to appreciate what I was able to do more before I had Guillain-Barré, after I had Guillain-Barré and everything, because I finally realized what it was like to not have any functional use at all and everything. And they say it was the Guillain-Barré attack was from insecticides, bug spray and stuff like that. But I think it was from doctors that had put me on different medications, like, you know, lithium a long time ago and stuff like that. You know, I had bipolar and they were putting me on lithium and clozapine and medications like that. And I think the Guillain-Barré was from the excessive amount of medication that they put me on. But you know, I'm not counting out the fact that it could have been insecticides too. But anyway, this is what I have to say about my experiences with Guillain-Barré.